welcome back to the channel everyone. So today we're going to talk about our best bikes of 2022. It's coming up to the end of November. No, it isn't. Coming up to the end of October.
Yeah.
So
I think he's wishing our holiday was next week. That's what he's doing.
We have just been into Thompson.
Tui,
whatever that one is, to try and book a holiday for December. So yeah, if it was the end of November, it'd be quite exciting for us, wouldn't it?
Yeah. This video would be me running around. I'm incredibly excited when it's holiday time. So I probably wouldn't be sat here like this. You just see my face popping in and out.
Well, you would be stressed with 3 suitcases with different fingerprints thrown into different bags. That might be happening.
Yeah, that's true.
But, end of November we've also got Motorcycle Live to look forward to.
Yeah.
Which is where you sat on that Ducati and really liked it. So let's see what bikes at Motorcycle Live.
More to come about that.
Yeah, okay. So without further ado, we're going to start with top 5 bikes 2022. This is just our favourites based on a kind of loosely informed opinion. There's no order of the list, just some bikes that we really like. Some are pre-2022, some have actually launched this year. So I've got 3 and Susie's got 2. So we'll start with my long-time favourite little capacity cruiser, which is the Royal Enfield Meteor 350. So I actually owned this bike and there's loads of videos on the channel about me pottering around on this machine. It's a great little bike, it looks great, people love them, reliable, 100 miles per gallon, full of character, the colours are quite nice, it's cheap, it was under £4,000, brand new when I bought it. And they've recently released some brand new colours. There's a red Supernova, there is a gloss black, which they didn't have before in the Stella, and there's a couple of new fireballs, a blue fireball with yellow writing.
Yeah, that's cool.
And yellow rim tape on the wheels, which is quite nice. But yeah, I mean, it just keeps being the best selling bike in its category, which is cruiser, month after month for about 18 months. It's absolutely crazy. Now, Royal Enfield have actually released 2 new bikes, or about to release the second, using the J series engine as a platform, which is the Classic 350 and the Hunter 350. But even the Classic is selling well, and it's not actually taken away from the Meteor sales. So Meteor's still going strong.
Which I thought it would, because to me that looks like the same bike.
A little bit of an overlap, same performance,
a lot of
same
overlap.
Engine, same suspension, same chassis, same everything.
But then I like variety. Like, you're a bit more of a kind of stick with what you know, whereas we're quite opposites in that way, whereas I'm quite like, okay, now I want something different, and something different, and something different.
Yeah, which a lot of bikers are.
Yeah.
Actually, people like to trade in quite frequently.
Quite regularly.
I mean, there's a few people on the Royal Enfield owners group who've swapped from Meteor to Classic and back to Meteor.
Wow.
So,
well, you were nearly one of those people.
I looked at the Classic, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And he also looked at the Meteor again, and I had to tell him, let's just look at why we got rid of this bike.
Susie talked me out of it. Remember, it's only got 20 brake horsepower.
It's too slow.
Yeah, especially for both of us.
And I don't even ride it. I just go on the back. It is too slow for me.
You had a nice time looking at the side.
Oh, it was, really cool for just chugging about. But if that's what you want to do, then awesome. But if you've only got 1 bike or 2 bikes,
yeah, it's a nice second bike, isn't it?
I don't think you want that. Well, for you anyway, when you go on your longer rides, like you couldn't ride around Europe on that.
No,
I know some people do. That's bonkers.
Yeah.
You're even thinking that your Vosges isn't a big enough capacity for that. So
yeah.
Anyway, beautiful bike.
It's a really nice looking bike. Owners love them, and props to Royal Enfield for bringing back to basic motorcycling to the UK market.
So that leads nicely to my first favourite. Now, I just asked Sean actually, what is the parameters of this? Like, are we looking at bikes that have been launched this year or what? And he said, no, let's just chat about bikes we like.
Yeah.
Now, I love being a pillion. I like bikes, but I'm all about the sports bikes.
You do like a fully fed.
So, although I don't ride yet, I would probably have a sports bike. I don't mind. I'm a yoga teacher, so the angle, the position doesn't bother me. I can be as upside down as you like.
Yeah.
And I've actually done yoga on Sean's sports bike before, which I'm sure we can dig some pictures out of.
Yeah, we'll probably do have a picture.
But because Sean's just talked about Royal Enfield, when we went to look at his possible bounce back to a Meteor or a Classic, he rode the Interceptor, and I really loved that. I got a real weird surprise I just liked it. I liked the way it looked. He rode the Canyon Red one, I think it was.
Yeah, it's like a cherry red on the tank.
And they had like a grey and blue one and stuff, which I thought I would more like. It's a little bit more feminine, but I actually really like the... I don't know whether it's the American feel or what it is, but...
Classic California, isn't it? Like a beach cruiser.
So when I was in California, I was wearing like the red flannel shirt and
so that is
had
kind
a
of
cap
a Royal
on.
Enfield
So
Interceptor.
yeah, so I really liked it, and it Sean looked great on it, and it gives that extra capacity. So although I haven't ridden it, it looks. I think it looks great, and if that's what you're going to go for, like if we were going to have a sports bike each and something else, then I'd want to be riding that.
It's really popular, Royal Enfield Interceptor, and there's loads of mods for it. So people love to add little screens and nice traditional-looking side panniers.
And I always used to mod my cars, so maybe I'll start modding my bikes.
Yeah, I don't think that was quite the same a classic vibe, was it?
No.
Yeah, but you had like
a modded M3 was not.
It was not a classic.
Anyway, so next bike for
number
you.
3 on the list is the Suzuki GSX-S1000GT, which we abbreviate just to the GT because it's such a mouthful. So I actually test rode this bike, and we have
we'll put the video
bit of a card up there because it was a good test ride actually. It's based on the motor from the 2005 GSX R1000, so this K5 variant with this famous engine. So it's a 999cc.
Famous Gixxer engine.
1 litre capacity, inline 4, and they've basically shoehorned that, well, they've refined it over the last 15, 17 years, which is the pinnacle of kind of an inline 4. Everybody loves this engine, and they've shoehorned it into a touring bike. Now, what's interesting about this is, it used to be, who was the leader for the sports tourer segment before?
I'm going to get these numbers and letters the right way around.
The
Kawasaki S1000ZX.
Very close.
Oh,
no, they've changed it. It's not even your fault because it used to be.
That's the one we tested.
The Z1000SX.
That's right.
And then I think they took that out. Now it's just the 1000SX.
Right.
From
See, the Z part is the part that actually made me remember it. So thanks, Kawasaki.
Yeah,
But we tested that together, and that was really cool. I really liked it. For me as a pillion, though.
Yeah.
I actually prefer the super sport position. What I struggle with is that middle.
Canted forward a little bit.
So I think you either need to be forwards, and I think this can go for riders as well as pillions. Leaning forwards, leaning on the handlebars or the fuel tank or holding on, or sitting upright like on the Vosges or the Meteor or whatever.
Yeah.
Not half. You know, when they put the handlebars far enough forward, so Sean has to lean slightly.
A little bit of a lean, yeah.
I don't think that's good for your back either. Like, yoga teacher speaking here, I wasn't comfortable. I felt like with that amount of power, I wasn't in a position of being in my own power.
Yeah, you were like half on the rider,
not leaning
half
enough,
on the seat.
but also had to stand up. It wasn't comfortable
doesn't
for
like
me.
that.
No.
But nevertheless.
But you riding it on your own on a test.
On the test, so
liked.
that was the competitor, the Kawasaki for the last decade, and then Suzuki were just like, let's just launch a brand new bike. We're going to take it to Kawasaki, and competition amongst the brands benefits the riders, and both bikes are really good. But the Suzuki is just a little bit more exciting in the engine department, whereas Kawasaki probably a little bit better finish. But the Suzuki is keenly priced. I think it's $12,999 with the pannier system. If you don't want the panniers, then it's $12,000.
So why would you have that though? Right, let's just think about it. Is this for people that want a sports bike but need the practicality of a tourer?
Yeah.
So like you only have one bike. Sports bike is ridiculously impractical physically.
True.
You know, for travel, all of those things, fuel, comfort, everything. Or is it that people want the same experience of a sports bike, but they want to go further?
Basically, yeah, they want to be able to ride to the Alps and then carve it up in the bends.
But can you carve it up? Imagine you've got your panniers on and a pillion.
With
You've got
pillion,
like 30 kilos of luggage. Are you really going to be like smashing it around the bends? Like all of that handling is going to be gone the minute you put your luggage on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny old segment, the sports tourer, because
Yeah, I find it really weird. I can't get my head around
you've got the Ducati Multistrada V4S, whatever it is, that's got 160 brake horsepower, whatever it is. It's an upright adventure bike, but people say it rides better than a traditional sports bike. So it's almost like the suspension technology's got now. The sports tour is in a bit of a funny segment because a big upright adventure bike can handle as well as a sports tourer. It's
mind blowing. I need to test them really.
Well, yeah, you weren't with me on the Suzuki test,
No.
but rest assured, it was really good. I mean, it's keenly priced and good for Suzuki to come back into the sports touring segment. It looks nice, a bit insect-like. The colours, two blues, a kind of light electric blue, a darker blue, and then they've got a black. But yeah, overall, nice bike. They're selling really well. Good for Suzuki. And yeah, so that is number 3 on our list.
So we're going to go on to number 4, and it's something totally different. Nothing to do with a launch this year. They didn't launch this bike this year, maybe last year. But it's the one that I may have talked about a couple of times on videos before, and it just sits with me because a couple of reasons. So I'll tell you what it is before I start banging on about it. It's the Ducati 950 Supersport, or S, I think they call 950S.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think this looks, it's not as aggressive or angular looking as a typical Supersport. It's definitely got a softer feel to it, which appeals to me a lot because I've always liked really aggressive cars.
Good point, actually.
But I don't like that kind of heavy, angular, like bright blues and blacks and all the lines and it just all being about rugged. I think that if it's going to be really smooth a ride, why can't it also look kind of a little bit softer? So the one that I actually saw in the flesh, and the only one I've seen in the flesh, was pearly white. So that really appealed to me because that was probably the first like pearly white, more feminine looking bike that I'd ever seen. Now, guys, don't let that put you off because it's a really beautiful, amazing bike.
It's a
you
Ducati,
can imagine,
isn't it?
right?
So
It's a Ducati.
it's gonna look stunning.
And I don't like Ducatis. That's not really ever been anything that's caught my eye. When I was younger, I was always an R1 fan. R1, R6 all the way. I've leaned over to Kawasaki since I've met Sean. Really, really love the 10R and 6R, you know, kind of typical super sport girl.
Because your mum was into sports bikes back in the day, so it obviously is
So it's
inherited.
obviously, yeah, some genetics there. But the other amazing thing about this is I could put my feet almost flat on the floor. Now, I don't know if any of you smaller riders, shorter riders.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'3", so I'm pretty small. You know, guys could be 5'3", but the average of guys is going to be taller than me. So I get that. But what always really pains me is we go to like the motorcycle show, we go around garages, we look at bikes, we test them. I love to sit on them as a pillion, but also have a sit myself. I like feeling like the depth of the seat and how everything is, for my own experience. And I always get a little bit like dismayed really that I can never put my feet down. I always feel like it's totally bonkers. Like even for a super sport, I couldn't put my feet down, so this would just be stupid. I'd have to have big heeled boots and I wouldn't feel safe because the bike is, especially for a small person,
it's quite heavy.
a massive weight
they're more
proportionally to me.
Weight as
even though I'm super strong, obviously. So yeah, that's my favourite. I haven't ridden it. I would love to ride it, and this is something that would probably be a bit mad for me to have, but I don't think I'm in that category that I couldn't have the power and just enjoy.
You'd be
I'm quite
responsible,
sensible,
wouldn't you?
Yeah. Sometimes. So that's my favourite still. So if you haven't checked it already, we'll pop a picture of the pearly white.
Well, there's a picture
Ducati.
of you sat on it.
Even better.
Probably dig that out.
Even better. There you go. You're welcome.
Right, well that brings us on
Number
to
5.
Final. Yeah, again, not in any particular order. So one of the bikes I really admired was Honda's NT1100. So this is a bit of a weird choice because what they've basically done is taken the Africa Twin, which is a full-on adventure bike with big 19-inch, 21-inch front wheel, whatever it is. It's got spoked.
It's ridiculously big.
It's a big old thing, big old bus, DCT, and then they've put a set of 17-inch rims on it, changed the fairing, same motor. They might have retuned the motor, and they've made a touring bike. Now, let's just get a few things out of the way. The colours are pretty awful. Nobody likes the colours. They're grey, black and white. There's nothing that isn't monochrome, so that's pretty awful. The front headlights look like the Honda Adventure scooter, so there's nothing really distinctive about it. And the switchgear is very fiddly, which is the same as we had on the Africa Twin. You know, it looked like Starship Enterprise control panel on the handlebar.
You've got one thumb and 15 buttons.
It is about 15 buttons, yeah.
I don't know how much dexterity, but you've got to have a pretty long thumb to make sure you can access all those buttons.
So, but despite all that, they've made this thing and everyone's loving it. It's selling really well. The reviews are really good. It's superbly comfortable. I read a magazine article recently and this guy said you could travel on the motorway 80 miles an hour with the visor up and you wouldn't feel a thing.
It's
and
amazing.
Wind buffeting is a particular bugbear of mine. So to hear that the screen's so good.
Yeah.
It's not adjustable when you're riding, which is always a weird thing. Why would you want to adjust the screen when you're riding?
Well, pretty dangerous.
You don't really grow in height or get shorter. So why would you position change?
Maybe you notice that it
people complain
about
screen heights. So the screen's really good, it's superbly comfortable, and it's got this parallel twin 1100 motor, loads of low down torque. They do it in the DCT, which I probably wouldn't have. I'd probably have the manual because it adds to the weight if you have the DCT. But yeah, it's a really good bike. I think it's about 12 grand, and if you compare that bike for a proper tourer, or it's kind of a sports tourer but more on the touring side, then the Suzuki we talked about is more of a sports tourer, more on the sporty side. So they both kind of complement each other.
Right, how many categories are there?
Yeah, this is fine. There's millions of
I like that,
categories,
how everything just kind of leads
so
into the next.
We'll make a new category.
We're going to have a sports tourer,
and
then an
cruiser.
adventure tourer sports, and a sport cruiser, or you could just have a cruiser, or you could have a sport, or a super sport, or a super sport. What about super sport tourer?
Or what about that thing where there's a 600 and then there's a 650? But the 650 is a parallel twin.
That took me about a year when I met Sean
really
to understand that. I had to keep saying, wait, which one?
Wait.
What is that
and
again?
do you remember the Honda, the CBR 650 is actually a 4-cylinder, but it's still an entry-level middleweight. So it is mental. It's mental.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Because we don't like boxes. We don't like to be put in boxes, neither do the bikes.
Neither the bikes,
So
obviously.
we'll just say it's a nice bike.
So the Honda, I think, comes in 11 grand.
Oh, I didn't talk about price. Anyway.
Something like that. But one thing is with Honda, everything will be an extra. So centre stands, that'll be like 500 quid. Heated grips will be 500 quid. That's one thing to consider. I do kind of like the idea of it. People say it's boring, but imagine if Honda hear this feedback and they make a new fairing kit, different colours and stuff. Imagine they do it in red. It could become a nice bike. So that's one to look out for. I probably wouldn't get it in grey. It's really boring. But as soon as they bring out new colours in 2023, maybe they will. It'd be quite nice. Oh, we have an honourable mention. I'm just going to wrap up the video. We have an honourable mention to talk about.
Do we?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Maving RM1.
Yeah, but I don't think that goes on the list, does it?
It's a little separate list.
Yeah, it's a bicycle list, isn't it? It's like a bicycle.
It's basically like an e-bike, but it's a little British, I want to say like startup company who've done really well. They sold 100 units of...
It is amazing.
It's an amazing looking little... It is a motorcycle.
It looks like a small motorcycle,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. It's in its own category. So if you looked at it from the side quickly, because of the way the seat is and it's got no exhaust, you would be like...
You would.
It threw me, because I was like, it's a bike. No, it's not. It's a motorcycle.
Yeah.
But you really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it. I'm not really a fan of electric. I didn't really get that visceral experience of riding, but I've got to try everything. I wanted to give it its fair...
And the colours look gorgeous.
The green is actually, they took it to the Goodwood Festival of Speed and they put it next to an Aston Martin. And the Aston Martin guys were like, hey, I think you've nicked our colour. Because it's basically Aston Martin
That is
green.
the colour that you want on a bike.
They've got a blue,
The
they've
blue
got
is
white.
my favourite.
Yeah, and it uses batteries that plug in, you bring them into your house, you plug them into
Which
a dock.
is so cool.
Which is better than having these horrible charging cables strewn all over the street, which the government wants us to have by 2030, but that's a topic for another video. If you don't have off-street parking, how on earth are you going to do electric cars and motorcycles? But this one, you take the battery out and then you put it in your house. And I just think, good for them. You know, it's nice to see a little bit of British ingenuity. They've made a bike, it's relatively affordable, and in the city, it's perfect. So the Maven gets an
But Sean
honourable
actually
mention.
has a whole video on this.
I do. I've just made it.
So we'll make sure we post that in the show notes, or there'll be a link to it.
There'll be some kind of link. We're not that good on YouTube. Links and tags and cards, but we'll figure it out somehow.
Somewhere there'll be a link.
I'll put it above your head.
Okay.
Like that. What's the news then? So as we finish the video, what's new? What are
There
we
isn't
doing?
news. It's time for dinner. That's the news.
Oh, what are we having?
You're cooking.
Am I cooking? Am I?
Yeah. It's his turn.
Okay. Well, I better get to work then. Right. Alright guys, well thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this rundown of our top bikes 2022. It's been a great year for bikes. There's some nice bikes come out. I'm sure we've missed a few. People will be shouting in the comments, but
And share what your favourites are, because this is just 5 bikes that have drawn our attention.
Yeah.
Like Sean has gone on about bikes all year, all different types of bikes, which is amazing. So do check his videos, but do share what you love. Like, we love to hear what other people are loving, and if you want Sean to do a video about any bike in particular,
that's a very good idea.
drop a comment, because he will do it. I will make sure of that.
Yeah, we're going to try and organise some test rides and demos, and we're going to go to Motorcycle Live and see what new stuff
So
they
if you're
have.
thinking of buying a bike, or you want some info on a bike, drop it down the bottom and we'll sort you out.
Yeah, great.
Cool.
Alright, well, thanks a lot for listening.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Pleasure as always, everybody.
Yeah, well, cheers.
Cheers.
See you in the
Have a
next
nice
one.
evening.
Bye, guys.